Kevin, and this is the Bible Artist Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Victor, as usual, and we're going to be discussing a bunch of kind of new Bible shows and Bible movies that have had trailers that have come out recently. So two of the big ones that I've got here highlighted. We've got Testament, which is finally got its official release date. It's going to be coming out on June 8th, which is the date of Pentecost, very appropriate. And then also 0 AD, which is a movie which, as you might expect based on the name, is following the events leading up to and immediately following Jesus's birth. Both of those are coming out through Angel. We may also discuss The Light of the World, which is an animated Jesus film. I just wanted to kind of put up some of the big kind of Bible films and Bible shows that I have on my radar right now. If you are aware of other ones, which I am not highlighting here, that are like decent size, not just like, two guys made a Bible film in their backyard or even just like a church did it, but like ones that are going to get wide release. Definitely feel free to let me know about those through the chat. And while we're talking about it, we love to interact with people. So feel free to leave comments, questions, your own thoughts, either about these shows, because we're going to be kind of discussing some of this stuff. We can also discuss the Chosen Season 5 if anyone wants to continue to press us. I know some people didn't like our takes from our review of the last few episodes last week, which, I did learn some more things about those episodes as people kind of shared their own thoughts. But I don't think I had like a major shift of thought on the final few episodes. Just for reference, I personally I enjoyed the last episode probably the most out of the final three, but we weren't like big fans of how things turned out, even though we are big fans of The Chosen itself. We had some constructive criticism. But
we had notes.
We had notes. That's a good way to put it. Which is an important way that we can encourage the show. We are all for the Chosen team, but one of the ways that we help is by just kind of sharing our honest feedback, instead of just kind of being rah. Testament is coming out June 8th. There's another show which is not from Angel, The Promised Land, which had its pilot last summer, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty funny. Promised Land is basically Office meets Moses on the way to the Promised Land, and I think that they're thinking summer, fall. They haven't, as far as I know, given a final release date for that, but sometime in this coming year, I think, is their plan for that. Light of the World is an animated Jesus film which follows the Apostle John, and they are depicting him as a younger boy, which a lot of scholars I think is possible, because John is considered to be the apostle who lived the longest, and a lot of scholars think that he wrote his gospel fairly late in the first century, and so that's partially, I think, what kind of goes into depicting him as a younger child. There's also the animated David film, so this is not related to House of David. This used to be with Angel, but I'll come back to that. There's kind of some news on that. That's coming out in November, 0 AD in December, right in time for Christmas. And then there's going to be another Jacob, or another film from the His Only Son director that's focused on Jacob. I wasn't a huge fan of His Only Son. You can check out my review on the Bible-Artist.com. That's still TBD, but I just put it on there because I know that that's another one of Angel's properties. So anyway, these are some of the big kind of Bible films and Bible shows, not counting the Chosen stuff. So this year we've got Chosen Adventures that is set to come out at some point. I don't think they've given a final release date for it yet. And then obviously The Chosen has several other spin-offs that are in various stages of development. I think they've said the Joseph one will probably come out before the main Chosen series is complete. Some of the other ones may be a little bit later. But but yeah, if you are aware of other projects that are out there, definitely let us know, because yeah, there's so much happening that it used to be that one Bible film a year was like a big deal, but now there's a bunch of them coming out. Oh, I didn't put on here. There's I don't know. I haven't checked in recently on the Nicolas Cage Bible horror film, but that's also in development. I think it's like The Carpenter's Son, which I I like the idea of doing a Bible horror film, which I almost feel like Zero AD gave me horror film vibes, but we can
Yeah, a
discuss
little
that in a minute.
bit.
But yeah, I'm not sure that kind of the premise of Carpenter's Son is. We'll have to see where they go with it, I guess. Um, okay, sorry, I've been talking a bit. Victor, do you have any kind of initial things to say before we dive into some of the specific news?
Just now, just like it's like you said, there's a pretty big slate of stuff coming that's going to be fun to evaluate and to you know judge fairly and evaluate fairly for how it succeeds at what it's trying to be, which is a cross between Hollywood entertainment and biblical fidelity.
Yep.
So it's always fascinating to see what the line is and what each different kind of filmmaker, how they approach that.
Yep. I kind of teased at this before. So with the David film, there was news fairly recently. So this film had been under Angel, like it was one of Angel's kind of premier projects that they were promoting. They had done like a younger kids animated series to kind of try to build up a bit of an audience for it. It was maybe like 6 episodes, and then they were going to release like a major animated film this year. But they were working with Slingshot. So Angel wasn't like, they weren't actually in charge of making the film. They were more kind of distribution and raising funds and doing stuff like that. But then just, I think in March, Slingshot filed a lawsuit against Angel, saying that Angel had violated or breached their contract, that they were kind of almost doing like a hostile takeover of some of the property, and had put the animated Young David show behind a paywall when that wasn't part of the original agreement, and they had done kind of some other things that Slingshot felt were unfair, and so they're in the midst of a lawsuit. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. The Chosen obviously recently had a big deal with Angel Studios, where the two they had to settle some legal matters in arbitration last summer, and that led to The Chosen formally separating from Angel. So this would be another like major property leaving Angel. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like that's where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing, and
Yeah,
it feels like when it comes down to making a choice between the ethical decision and the money decision, Angel seems to be just kind of leaning a little bit on going for the money,
yeah. I
and
mean,
that seems to be biting them at least twice now. So I mean, I don't know.
yeah. It gave me real pause too, because I think I've also heard of another one that had some issues. It was a little bit smaller. I can't really. I think it was like something about Big Pharma, where the creator was saying that some of the deals that they had to sign with Angel were unfair or whatever. But on the other hand, the guy who's doing Zero AD, so that's the creator of Sound of Freedom, which was with Angel, and Cabrini, also with Angel. So it seems like he's had a pretty good relationship with them. I'm wondering if like part of it is like if you're just like an independent filmmaker and you don't really have a larger apparatus to work with you, maybe Angel like maybe like a pretty good fit, because they take a lot of the cut, but like if you were just making an indie
Mm-hmm.
film, you're probably not going to be able to distribute it, and like that's like the best you can do is to work with them. Whereas like if you're kind of trying to do something a little bigger, like The Chosen, where it's not just like trying to be like a one-off, sort of thing, but it's like trying to be this larger property, or even the David film, and it had a TV series attached to it, where they're trying to do something that's like a little bit bigger. It seems like maybe the way that Angel structures things, there's kind of a little conflicting interests, and like something where it makes it difficult for creators to do something a little bit bigger, because the obligations to Angel can be kind of so onerous or whatever. I mean, we don't have like insider knowledge, and until the stuff between David and Angel is adjudicated, you gotta kind of hear both sides, and people could be dishonest and making a false accusation or whatever. But I agree with you, Victor, that like at least my like kind of gut reaction is like, I've seen this happen with Chosen, and I kind of trust the creators of the Chosen, that they are coming from a honest place when they are bringing some of the issues, and then to see this happen with another major property which had a lot of like Christian filmmakers attached to it. Yeah, it just makes me a little kind of suspicious and uneasy about it. But that's not to say that I think that means that any property that's working with the Chosen should be looked at as suspect, because a lot of these different shows and movies, the people are creating stuff, they're getting help from Angel, but that doesn't mean that Angel is like corrupting their stuff. They're just providing some resources and stuff. But
I'm in favor of all this stuff coming out into the light, and if there is anything to be concerned about, that it'll get resolved. And I know they've got tons of people that are 100% sincere and not in it for the money, that are working on these projects. Those are the people that need to be like honored or taken care of in all this.
It does make me wonder for Testament, which has the potential maybe to be like the Chosen, like something that could grow into a larger franchise, or at the very least, the series probably has the ambitions of running for several seasons. Whether they'll run into some of the same challenges that the Chosen has run into, but we'll have to see. Let's dive into some of the actual images. So we'll start out, we'll look at Testament first. We'll look at Testament, then we'll go to 0 AD, and then we'll see if we get around to Light of the World and some of those images, because all three of them had trailers just in the past month or month and a half since Chosen season 5 and House of David. We've just been so busy, we haven't been able to get around to any of it. So I'm not doing like a shot by shot analysis of the trailers, just kind of picking out more. I'm less interested in like kind of trying to picture or put together like the whole storyline, and more just like some of the vibes that some of these trailers are giving. So one of the things that stuck out to me about the Testament trailer is I feel like there's a few different like things that they're throwing into the pot. So one of them is kind of like the Risen film. Victor, did you ever see Risen?
Didn't see that one.
Okay, so basically the premise of it was, so this was a film in like maybe like 2015 or something, where like a Roman investigator was looking into the disappearance of Jesus's body, and kind of what was significant about it was that it had more of like a action oriented vibe compared to a lot of Bible films, which tend to be more kind of drama focused, and kind of a more investigation or that kind of thing, thriller sort of feel. So I definitely got some. So the Testament trailer, there's a part where someone is kind of like interrogating someone about where the body is. So you get the sense that there's going to be at least some sort of plot line where, maybe Saul or someone else who's been hired by the religious authorities is trying to find the body of Jesus, or figure out what the disciples did with it. I just wanted to note that quick. But the bigger vibes, I think, that the trailer is giving off is more like dystopian sci-fi, or like near future. Like nothing like, in some ways some stuff is like less advanced, but they're at least like giving some aesthetics that you might find in like a sci-fi film, or definitely just like a dystopian film. Yeah, what do you think of?
Isn't this based, or isn't this like a sort of a sequel to like a film that had the same
Hmm.
premise? I mean, is it a sequel, or is it just a remake? Or
I think it's kind of a remake. Like, I think they're just treating, so they're yeah, I think they're more treating the initial film as kind of like a
proof of
um,
concept or something?
proof of concept. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I don't think you'll have to
Okay.
have like seen the original film. That I don't feel like that would be a good move on their part, because I doubt that the original film had like a huge audience for it. But yeah, the original film took this kind of concept of so that actually I don't know during this podcast if we've laid out the concept for the show. So
Yeah.
this is the book of Acts, but it is in alternate history where Jesus did not come back when he came in our history, during the times of Roman Empire, kind of at its height in, for us, what it would have been 0 AD. But for them, 0 AD is something more like something during kind of, 20th or 21st century of our time. So, people have, um, you know, aesthetics that look similar to stuff that we would wear today, but also like some stuff that's a little more sci-fi.
Well, yeah, it looks like it's the Roman Empire still in charge,
Mhm.
and it's still all the
I think
same
they call
kind
it
of
like the
things.
Empyrean or something like
Imperium,
that.
right.
Yeah.
But obviously they've got the same aesthetics, the same kind
Yep.
of
It's like a
verbiage for how
modernized
they.
Roman Empire and like modernized Jewish um,
Mhm.
Sanhedrin and temple authority and stuff like that. Yeah.
I couldn't tell from the trailer if all of it takes place in a
Mm,
Roman kind of that if in that area of the world,
mm,
or if there's going to be like an America that somehow came about
mm.
in this alternate timeline, which wouldn't make
Yeah,
any sense. But
I am curious, like how much they'll like explore like the rest of world history, or like what happened to other stuff. It's funny. I actually, back in like high school, I had this idea for almost exactly the same sort of thing. I had, well, my first idea was more of like a Jesus focus, but it was like modernish history, but exploring. And I was a geeky high school kid, so I was thinking through like how would the geopolitical situation in the world be different if Christendom hadn't ever existed, and um, how would the Americas be different, and all that stuff. So that was like a interesting little like rabbit hole that I went down when I was like probably a senior in high school. And then I also had another similar concept, which was again modernized like take on the stories in the Gospels, but following like a investigator from who's working for like the Roman Empire, trying to explore, like figure out what happened to this Messiah. I think the only difference that I had is in terms of like aesthetics, instead of the disciples kind of coming across as like urban, like British urban kind of people. I had like kind of this like Christian alternative music scene as like the kind of the inspiration for how they were gonna look, and because I was really into certain bands, so I was, yeah, that was like part of my my vibe. But so I'm a little interested in the concept just because I have that personal connection that I kind of explored some of this stuff myself. Um, but yeah, what do you think about kind of doing a modern dystopian meets Bible story?
for me, it's going to be kind of tricky for them to satisfy me, because it's kind of one of those things to where I have to like shut my brain off to tell myself, okay, the last 2,000 years of history didn't happen like we
Mm.
know it, but yet somehow we ended up with the same cars and
Yeah.
all the same kind of aesthetics. And I know that's just a storytelling thing that all these kind of dystopian things do. Sometimes I'm able to suspend my disbelief. Sometimes I'm not. And we'll
Mm.
see how that is with this. It's like there's other aspects of this trailer that worry me a little bit, but we can get into that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, we can come back to that. I'm interested, like, but I with you, like, I'm gonna like I'm gonna want them to actually like explore that a little bit and not just be like, okay, everything's the same uh, except for Jesus not being around,
Right.
because the world has been so impacted by the arrival of Jesus. If things are very similar, especially things like ethnic and racial relations, if those if it feels like modern in those terms, that's gonna feel very strange to me. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, just a lot of different things. Like if it feels like mostly like our world, but with like a little bit of like a twist, then I'll be disappointed. But if they actually do show like, I get that they have limitations in terms of like how much they can explore the map and stuff, but I want them to at least like show me that they have like thought about how much different the world would be, and like that they're not just doing kind of a shallow um, alternate history. And if
Right.
they do that, um, then I'm at least like interested in um, using like a different kind of paintbrush to explore some of these stories, and like through that to try to maybe like make some connections between the early Jesus movement and things in our modern life. That's I see it like as one of the
Mhm.
potential values of this approach. Like you can um, help bridge kind of the relevance of some of
Right.
these events. So I'm interested in it, but uh, it's definitely like a big lift that they're.
Something it kind of reminds me of. Remember that show, Once Upon a Time, which kind of took fairy tales and brought them into modern world and kind of tried to.
Mm,
Well, what if they really existed? How would they?
yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. It's like, well, if all of these characters existed in our time,
Mm,
how would that work, and what would they be, and what would their jobs
yep.
be in
Yep.
modern times? And I could see that, and it's like, I think it's gonna. If you like the show, is going to depend a lot on how much you enjoy those kinds of
Yeah.
thought
Yep.
experiments.
Yep. Yep. Um, yeah, and there's also like a little bit of like it feels like kind of Rebel Alliance vibes, or or just like kind of from dystopian fic, like
Hmm.
you've got the rebel faction that's looking at a plan and probably trying to like find some sneaky way to get around the bad guys. So they're definitely like going for that, and even just like in terms of the disciples, they're trying to give like a certain kind of aesthetic. Like I was saying, I feel like they're going for like kind of urban, but also kind of like British urban. Yeah, almost like, I'm not just saying this because some of the actors are black, but like kind of like something you'd see like with like kind of rap or like things like that. Because even like um, yeah, just like kind of the baggy clothes and like um, yeah, like even just the haircuts of some of the actors. Like yeah, like Peter. I think this is Peter. You know, uh, given like more of kind of a which makes sense. Like they're kind of going for like either like blue collar or lower class, and so they're trying to evoke that in terms of kind of modern aesthetics. Um, so
Well,
yeah,
in one way, it kind of looks like they're trying to say, what if youth ministers or worship
yeah,
leaders were heroes?
yeah, yeah. That's true. They're total like that might be like their main audience. They're like, okay, we really want to get these youth pastors on, and then they can spread it their youth groups, because they're going to want all the youth group kids to think like, yeah, like my youth pastor, he's like one of these heroic disciples. That you're totally right. Yeah, this totally feels like youth pastors as the heroes, because yeah,
I mean,
just
they
the
are
age.
the heroes. So I mean,
Yeah,
let's just be honest.
yeah,
About
and I was a youth pastor until a few years ago. So youth pastors, love you guys. It's hard work and difficult time. So you are heroes. I'm not trying to minimize you. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on kind of the depiction of the disciples other than that?
Just exactly what you're saying. It's kind of like we're in, I'm worried just a little bit too generic, dystopian, sci-fi,
Yeah.
urban, just all the stuff you're saying. It's like, it's exactly what it is. It's like, hey, we've only got so much of a budget for doing this kind of stuff. So we got how can we make regular stuff look kind of like it's slightly just a degree off,
a little
from
old or
normal.
Yeah. And then you also have a little bit of like the temple looks like it's like Temple meets Oxford, which probably the creators of the show I think are British, so it doesn't surprise me that they have like some kind of British influences in the architecture. I assume this is the temple. I guess it could be some sort of other structure, but yeah, it feels very like evoking like Oxford or like British universities. Which probably kind of hits like a little bit of an itch for a lot of Christian viewers who are, look up to C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and stuff. And so Oxford, I feel like, has like a big place in the Christian imagination, even for people who aren't from Britain and would never potentially go to Oxford. So that was like kind of an interesting choice.
I can see this show actually taking place almost entirely, or at least being set in Britain, because Britain was a Roman colony, or not colony, but a Roman holding. So it would make sense that they would still be Roman and yet have some of their own stuff and speaking English. If they're actually speaking English and not just being translated for us, and they're actually speaking.
I'll give them a pass
Roman
on like anything language, like it's going to be hard to like overcome the fact that we're speaking English, but that's true. But so are you actually
said it in England, then they could be speaking actual English, and that's how they can explain.
Okay. Yeah, that would be interesting. Like if this is actually like supposed to be England, are you thinking then that Jesus like came to England, or are you thinking that like the disciples have like migrated to England after?
I think they're just all over the place, and England's going to be one of the main places they go to.
Oh, okay.
But it could be either way. It's like it just as easily to where the entire thing is just set in a dystopian version of Europe, as if Rome never fell.
Yeah.
And all of these places just are under Rome, and they're speaking Latin, but we're hearing it as English. It's kind of probably what's going to happen.
I think it's probably going to be kind of vague in terms of the geography, and I think it'll be a more contained geographic space, especially for like a first season. They don't have probably the budget to be like going to a lot of different places. So either this is like the dystopian future Jerusalem for the show, or you're right, like they for some reason are in England. It'll be interesting to see if they like give any thought to like Jerusalem being destroyed in 70 AD. Like, did that like not happen in this history, and think the Jews just remained in Judea? Or I guess a possibility is that did some sort of destruction did happen, and there's a major migration to England or something. That could be like another explanation. I feel like we probably aren't going to get like the history of the world that some of us would be interested in hearing, but they should do that. Like if they like have like an actual history of the world and like things that have happened between whenever kind of the timeline breaks off from our own. Yeah, I would totally love to watch like a little 5-minute like catch me up on the history of
Right.
the Testament world and how it's different from ours.
Yeah, settle down, children. Let me explain to you.
Yeah,
how
like
we
I
got
don't
here.
want that to be like the opening scene of the show or whatever, but I would definitely watch it as like a little
See, but
geeking out sort of thing.
see, this is one of those kind of creative choices when you're doing Bible adjacent. I wouldn't call this an I guess it'd be an adaptation, but it's a
it's just
a
like a
reimagining.
Yeah,
But it's like so much of what makes Jesus a valid Messiah are all of the stuff that was in the Old Testament that called forward. It's like, how much of that can you change? Like, let's say they're in a different era. I mean, if we have to assume that Jesus came back just before the start of this show. So in, I don't know, the year 2000 as opposed to the year 0, how do the prophecies and everything else still line up? Do you have to rewrite them? How much work do you have to do to justify
a little bit of rewriting of like, some like Daniel prophecies where it seems like even if you can't like get the exact year to line up, like Daniel is kind of generally giving us like a sense of like roughly when things should be taking place. So yeah, you're right.
But the other side of that is how many viewers are actually like us that are going to be like looking into this kind of thing and trying to, and the rest of them are just going to be like, oh, I get it. It's, the New Testament, but it's in the year 2000. And Jesus never came until just now. I'm good to go, entertain me.
And to be honest, like my high school self would have probably been fine with that. So I'm interested still. Here are the priests. They look very British. I mean, maybe some are have a Jewish appearance as well. I mean, you can't always, there's not always like
they definitely look like 1950s Hollywood version of what Middle Eastern or Jewish people look like, which is like British people.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. This guy's mustache is what made me think British, like British like East India Company or something, like with his.
Yeah, I can hear him talking right now. Just
he's
got a thick British accent, very upper class.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a monocle. Interesting, like the umbrellas. So they're definitely like given a certain vibe with this. This is apparently Saul, because the trailer, after we get this shot of this guy walking in, and someone like is introduced as Saul. So it seems like one of the main storylines is going to be like Saul trying to investigate things and persecuting the church. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how long they have Saul on like the bad side, and when he makes his turn and stuff, if that'll be like at the climax of the first season or
I think he's going to be a bad guy for a while. He seems like that's kind of a juicy kind of bad guy part that would, I could see that being the most interesting part of this show, is just kind of seeing Saul play out in a dramatic,
you're right,
kind of over the top way that he's normally.
You probably want actually more than one season, because you've got to do like all the early chapters in Jerusalem, and once he turns like to like a good guy, then the story really shifts in a different direction. So I agree, you probably want him for at least maybe a couple seasons as a bad guy. Okay, before we move on to the next one, did you have other, I know you kind of hinted at some other
just the thing that concerns me is that the performances, at least the way they're shown in this trailer, are kind of over the top. And kind of in a way that just it kind of makes me roll my eyes a little bit. It's like that feels
Yeah.
like old school Christian filmmaking, to where
Yeah.
it's instead of getting really good actors that can do this, you find actors that are able to act angry.
Yeah.
Be angrier.
Mm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see. In those little
That was my
snippets,
big
though,
pause on
it's
the trailer as well.
yeah.
Like whether some of the performances are going to be up to the caliber of something like The Chosen or House of David, where you've got some like really like solid performances, which even sometimes when we have quibbles with the writing, the performances often carry it. Whereas here, like like some of the aesthetics, and I'm like at least interested to see what they do with the concept. But if the performances are just like too kind of one-dimensional or over the top, like you said,
Cartoonish is the word I would use
yeah,
for some of
cartoonish,
the scenes.
then that could really, I feel like, get in the way of the show getting a bigger following. I also feel like, yeah, just it being on the Angel app, it'll be interesting to see if it's able to get a big following when it's in that more kind of confined space and not on a more mainstream app, like the Chosen and House of David both are now. Because I mean, Angel does have a lot of people, but at the same time, like even though this is like Bible stuff, I feel like probably Chosen's like main audience may not vibe with the show as much, because it's like I feel like this is like aimed at a little younger audience, with some of the aesthetics and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure Angel probably has a diverse audience or whatever, um, but I feel like it probably tends more towards a little bit older, probably a little less like into the kind of young
Right.
dystopian sci-fi sort of vibe. So I almost feel like this show would do a little bit better if it was able to be on a more like mainstream app. Yeah, but
So it's kind of
thanks
funny.
for
I have like I have quibbles about like the aesthetics and stuff like that, but then at the same time, one of my favorite shows was Battlestar Galactica, which
mm,
gave no logical explanation about why these people in another galaxy were wearing Earth-looking business suits and had
yeah,
names
yeah,
that were Roman, like Gaius Baltar. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so what? Yeah, I would love to be able to have like a switch that I can, or a knob that I can turn on the side of my head to allow me to, I let that go. Why can't I
yeah.
let this go?
Yeah, but I don't know. Battlestar Galactica, I don't know what they were able to do. It would be interesting to watch through it and try to, with this question in mind. They just do a really good job of like getting us like into that new world, and past like those questions. And well, and part of it is also like we're questioning like how is this world connected to our world, because
Right.
the whole like myth of Earth is like part of the mystery of the show. And
Mm.
so I feel like that's part of maybe why you're able to get beyond some of those things, because you're like, oh, maybe there is some sort of like connection, and maybe there's going to be
A
like
little
an
bit,
explanation.
but it's gonna be on this show. It's like it's gonna have to hit on all cylinders to get people to want to do the work to go to the Angel app. I mean, it's going to be a
Yeah,
couple of extra notches of difficulty that you're going to need to get some buzz going, and people are going to need to be able to say, it's like Battlestar Galactica, but it's the Bible,
yep, yep,
or
yep.
it's like the Hunger Games, but it's the Bible.
Yeah, I feel like Hunger Games is or like I never watched it, but what was that one, like
Divergent.
Divergent? Yeah, this is giving me like real Divergent vibes.
Mhm.
Or like the Maze Runner, like that kind of
All of those.
yeah. Although it's interesting, if they wanted to go with those vibes, like they could have gotten like a few more younger, like you said, like this feels like it's uh like the youth pastors are the main audience, as opposed to like having like a few more like teenagers, if you're really wanting to go hard on the dystopian YA fiction sort of thing. But
Mhm.
yeah,
We'll
maybe
see.
they're
I'm
hoping.
curious. see
Yeah.
how they do it.
Yeah.
The bar has been raised, and they're not going to be able to just do the same stuff that they always used to be able to do.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep. Okay, so moving on to Zero AD. Yeah, like I kind of hinted at before, the trailer almost gave me like a little bit of like horror film vibes, especially this scene here. Which, I mean, the Mary Netflix film also had kind of a scary looking Satan encountering Mary, but this one even more I feel like than that film. Um, yeah, just the lighting and even the appearance of Satan is not just like evil, but he's like kind of decrepit. And then when we actually like see Mary, and this is like the one of the images for one of the trailers, like I don't know what's going on with her eye here, but it like is she like
that
possessed?
looks like the poster. Yeah, it looks like a possessed or
Yeah, yeah.
a
Like it looks like
witch. You
the
know,
poster you could get for like a like
an
a
A24
nun
movie.
horror film or something. Yeah, from
Hmm.
A24. So that has me like a little interested as far as like what they're doing with that.
I mean,
Because
so the premise of the movie is this is all about uh, Mary and Joseph and Jesus on the run from Herod wanting to kill them, right? And so it's
that
like
seems
a lot of
to
it's
be
going to take place in Egypt, possibly, or
yeah, I didn't actually look into the details of like where exactly. I mean, obviously we're getting shots of Herod, so he's probably in Judea, and I would assume that we at least start in Bethlehem, but yeah, because we get the slaughter of the innocents. But yeah,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get out to Egypt eventually. But just in terms of like kind of the colors and the lighting and stuff like that. Yeah, giving me kind of horror vibes, even though the the action itself, like it's not like we got like jump scares or things like that. So it may not actually be like a horror film in terms of like uh, the structure of it or like what it's doing, but it almost gives me like the aesthetics of a horror film. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think this is just
yeah.
like
I mean, I think that's why I was asking about like the setting of it because I think that it could be the whole movie is all of these forces are coming after Mary and Jesus trying to kill him. It's like
yeah?
they know that this is the linchpin and they got to get him.
Hmm.
So and it's basically going to be like her protecting her son against the world kind of
Mm,
vibe, kind of like a lot of horror movies where you're protecting a baby or you're protecting
that's
yourself
true.
from everything trying to kill you, as opposed to it being her being possessed. I can almost see that other image that you showed as her just determined to not let anybody get to her son, kind of thing. Like
Okay.
over my dead body, are you going to take my thing?
Oh, okay.
But it is. But I think this actress just has a very interesting look about her. It's
Yeah, yeah.
probably
She looks like
it's
she should
probably
be like in a horror
ambiguous. Yeah,
film. Yeah.
right,
Which, you know, is not like a knock on her. It's just like the kind of look that you would expect. I
right.
think I looked her up. Like I think she's like a model for some brand or whatever. So, um, yeah, that would make sense. But I don't know. Like this doesn't like I could see that being right. Like I'm not doubting that as a potential reading of it, but as like a viewer, if I just saw this image, what I get
Right.
from it is not like
Well, the rest of
determined
the trailer
mother.
gives off that vibe too. I mean, it's got some weird kind of vibey, spooky music going on to where
Hmm.
you're unsettled after watching this trailer. It's not a
Yeah,
heroic, triumphant kind of trailer. It's like a bad stuff is potentially going to happen in this movie kind of trailer.
yeah. Which, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting choice for a Christmas themed movie or whatever because they're releasing it right around Christmas, and obviously they're doing part of the Christmas story. Not that I think it's like inappropriate, like like you said, like it does make sense. Horror films are the kind of formula of horror films is that, you know, it's a battle for survival. It's like it's all about kind of that. Yeah, like
like
fighting to survive.
Aliens, the second
Yeah,
Alien movie, Sigourney Weaver
yeah,
protecting Newt. You know, I can see that kind of intensity
yeah,
about doing that.
yeah,
Now I know this director, what's his name, Alejandro Monteverde. He
yeah,
directed Sound of Thunder, Cabrini. I haven't seen Cabrini, but I know he's a very staunch Catholic.
yeah,
So I would assume that this is going to be it's not going to be Possessed Mary.
yeah, yeah. Probably
It's going to
not.
be a very much more traditional take on Mary, where she's probably, that's why I would think that she's going to be more of the hero, the
Yeah,
intense hero of the story, as opposed to, you know, I'm sure they're going to get some feedback that people are thinking like, is this a horror movie? And the second trailer is probably going to be a little less ambiguous as far as
yeah,
Mary's take on who she is in this movie.
yeah, yeah. No, I think you're probably right there. Because yeah, if he is like kind of a staunch Catholic, you probably definitely don't want to, like, I feel like if they did marry possessed, like, or like maybe, you know, she's not like fully possessed but like struggling with a demon. I mean, part of me feels like there's like a certain segment of like uh Catholicism of like, as long as like she's not overcome by the demon, but if she's like fighting with him,
Attacked, right?
maybe that could appeal to some people. um
See,
but
but I would think that goes against Catholic theology, because Mary in Catholicism has never sinned, or is
yeah, that's true.
immaculate the whole way
And wouldn't be
through.
able to,
So
wouldn't even be kind of like
right, wouldn't be tempted to be
tempted, or like
sinful.
no kind of foothold for Satan to get himself in. You're right. You're right.
But there is
And so
something going
like,
on there. I mean, it's an interesting take on this trailer. I have to 100% agree.
yeah, like I feel like in a way it's funny. Like uh, if you're making like Mary your protagonist, if you're really wanting to appeal to Catholics, like I almost like feel like, yeah, maybe a little bit of a strange like first foot to put forward, because you might like alienate some people and put them off. Like I'm kind of interested because I like horror films, and yeah, I would love to see like a faithful Bible film that had a little bit of like horror vibes to it. But this is, but like I feel like you might be at kind of like cross purposes in terms of more like marketing and
Mhm.
the vibes that you're putting out for the film. But at the same time, like it's definitely like giving out like a really distinct aesthetic vision,
It
which
looks it looks beautiful.
yeah, yeah, like the
Stunning photography, which is he's known for, at least, especially in Cabrini. I hadn't seen it, but the trailer looked incredible for Cabrini. It looked
mm,
like it was almost like a Renaissance painting. These
yeah,
look kind of
yeah,
like Renaissance paintings in a way.
yeah. I will say I wasn't like in love with King Herod, and maybe this is just like coming off of like Anthony Hopkins in the Netflix Mary, and then even more so the Chosen Herod. Like I feel like we've had like two pretty strong Herod visuals, and this guy, he looks like way too like Henry VIII.
That's Jim Caviezel,
Yeah, I know. Who,
and
you know?
and he looks like he's wearing a ton of makeup, which is
Yeah, yeah,
throwing me off.
yeah. So like, and it's surprising, like this is like one of the like the trailer images, like when you look on YouTube, this is what they have front and center, which I so I wonder if they changed it though, because at first I remember the trailer image being this one, and I wonder if they were like, oh shoot, like people are getting the wrong impression, they're seeing this creepy looking Mary and they're thinking that this is like a horror film, and so then they changed it to this one, which definitely like doesn't like
Yeah,
give you like horror
I,
film vibes.
I thought
But
it
it
was
almost,
more that you could say starring Jim Caviezel.
yeah, that
That
could
lets
be,
you say that this is Jim Caviezel. He's in this movie, so you know it's going to be, you know,
you know, it's going to be
biblically
Catholic or
accurate.
Christian there. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, out of like the images from this film, this one was one of the ones gave me more pause, just because it doesn't feel like a super impressive take on Herod.
He looks like King Henry VIII. Looks like he
Yeah,
should have
Henry
been
VIII.
in
That was totally my first thought.
1400s,
Yeah,
1500s England.
yeah. So I don't know like why they went that direction. But yeah, I don't know.
There's like
And
a
then
lot of people in this film that I didn't see in the trailer. A lot of big names. So I'm
yeah,
curious where
yeah, the
they are.
Sam Worthington, who's in Avatar. I think he's
Ben
going to be,
Mendelsohn.
yeah. So like I'm interested. Like Angel's obviously got like some clout now where they're able to get some decent names. Here, like again with the horror vibes, like is this like a seance? Like it looks like,
Hmm.
I'm assuming this is Herod because I think he's got a crown there. And then, surrounded by candles like that gives me like seance vibes. So
Well, something also, especially horror movies that have any sort of religious uh, flavor to it, are
mhm.
going to use Catholic
That's true. Like iconography or like,
iconography and stuff,
yeah,
and that's always fun to play with as far as like how can I twist, candles.
yeah,
Everybody's familiar with candles at a church. What if we made them creepy candles, or
yeah,
what if we
yeah,
had creepy statues or creepy stained glass windows,
yeah,
creepy people wearing big hats and stuff.
yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah, that is interesting. And then yeah, we get several shots from the slaughter of the innocents, which is like a very horrifying moment in history. So yeah, I mean, um, I could see that potentially being
Hmm.
kind of fitting into that sort of vibe. The only thing with this being a horror film is typically like the kind of formula for doing a horror film is you've got characters who are locked into like a like a like there's a monster in the house, so like they're in either a location or there's some way in some sense like trapped with some sort of antagonistic horrifying force. It doesn't need to necessarily be within like a house, but there has to be something that is like keeping them uh, kind of trapped, and so that the antagonistic force is able to continue pursuing them, and their survival is kind of constantly on the line or whatever. And like I don't have a clear sense from the trailer. Is the antagonistic force, is it the Roman forces? Is it Satan? Is it some sort of combination of the two? Is there like a real good kind of trapping mechanism that is like kind of keeping them confined? I mean, you could have like more of like a almost like Terminator sort of setup where this is like them kind of being pursued and they have to just kind of continually be on the run. So maybe that's like the
Hmm.
comparison would be like
Well, again,
Terminator.
going back to aliens, you have all the aliens coming from every direction, and I think
Yeah,
that's going to be the Romans. Satan's going to be the queen, alien queen. That is trying to hunt down, kind of
yeah,
maybe a combination, but I think Satan's going to be out there. He's going to be trying to prevent Jesus from doing all the stuff he knows Jesus is going to do. So he's got to
yeah,
stop him, whatever it takes. And he's going to have he's going to probably it's going to probably be a lot of things that look like possession or
yeah.
satanic influence are going to be coming after him,
Hmm.
coming after them, and she's going to constantly have to stay one step ahead, kind of like Sarah Connor, head of the
Yeah, yeah,
Terminator. But it's going to be a bunch of different things, not just going to be one entity coming after him. It's going to be all of the Roman Empire and people all around trying to get her, and she's going to have to always just stay one step ahead and protect Jesus from all these forces trying to close in on her.
hmm. Yeah. I get that. I feel like though the only danger there is that either it like feels episodic or it feels like there needs to be like a clear like we've like defeated the trap. We're on the other side of we've escaped the big monster or whatever. um whereas like, you know, with like Satan, there's kind of never going to be that point for Jesus.
And there's no real Bible moment where we're okay. It's just, you know, they just did not get affected by the
yeah,
killing all the babies. So it's just,
yeah. So
it's just,
my
and
only like
suddenly
hesitation
he's 12 and he's older, and I guess he
yeah
made
is
it.
like, how are they gonna like kind of create like a proper kind of climactic endpoint to the story. One of my like probably my biggest beef, I think, with the Mary film is not a lot of the issues that Christians have brought up, like theologically and stuff, or whatever. Well, it's kind of a theological thing. My biggest beef was that like the climactic like endpoint for that film was Joseph like throwing the bad Roman into like a burning bag of fire or whatever, and just like killing him, and that was like how they escaped, is Joseph like killed the guy, which felt like a very like strange way to conclude the like a Bible film through like like we killed to survive or whatever. So that's like one of the dangers of doing kind of a Bible, like when Bible meets like action movie. Yeah, because sometimes like it feels kind of like at cross purposes. So it'll be interesting to see how they're gonna navigate that. But yeah, I'm interested in most of the aesthetics other than King Herod. I think it looks like pretty interesting.
But
Yeah,
this is
at
kind
this
of like
point,
what we're talking about. It's like, you know, what kind of things can they do with the
yep,
same old stories and tell
yep,
them in an interesting, different way that, you know, brings some of the important things to light in a way
yep,
we may not have understood before.
yep. Hold on one second. My cat is scratching because he wants to get out of the room. Okay. Anything else from Zero or? Oh, here's Mary and Joseph. Here's one of the few images that just felt like a more like traditional Bible movie, like fairly peaceful and stuff. I mean, I know they're gonna like slaughter this goat or whatever, but yeah.
I mean, just the poster itself. I don't know if you got the poster handy or the logo image, like the
Oh yeah,
kind
with
of
the
kind of an
eclipse sort
eclipse,
of.
kind of. It's
Yeah.
just like, you know, what it's like. What is it? What is that supposed to
Mm,
indicate? So I'm just really curious to see what the next batch of promotions,
yeah.
you know, how they frame what this movie is.
It's interesting, like they're doing this one, like they're promoting it like way in advance, like compared to like a lot of like the Mary film from Netflix. I don't know if I like missed stuff, but I didn't hear about that until like a month before it came out.
I didn't hear about it until you talked about it.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas this one, they're really putting stuff in advance. If this is the December release, so yeah, they do have some time like to kind of do some different things with marketing and kind of see what hits. So yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on that one. And then last one to just briefly talk about, if the first one was like Bible meets Divergent, and then we had Bible meets horror. I feel like Light of the World gives me like Bible meets Aladdin sort of vibes, because we have this little sequence where John is kind of like running through the city, jumping through rooftops, and then he ends up like falling on his face. So, and it's 2D animation. I think some of the people working on it were like kind of Disney, Mulan and Beauty and the Beast era Disney alums, which I'm like personally much more of a fan of like 2D animation than I like Pixar stuff, but like a lot of 3D animation just doesn't do it for me. Like the King of Kings, yeah, I I know like some people were impressed by it, but I actually wasn't like a huge fan of it. So I like the 2D animation of what we're seeing from Light of the World. Concept, it's another Jesus film, but I like that their kind of unique twist on it is that we've got like a specific disciple that we're focusing on. So we're focusing on John, and according to their take, John is a kid, maybe like a young teen or somewhere around there, and so it's his perspective, and we're following Jesus through his eyes. Um, Interesting that they like chose to. I feel like their inciting incident that they hint at in the trailer is very close to The Chosen. I wonder if they thought like second guess themselves on that. Like, are we getting too close to what The Chosen did? Because in The Chosen, kind of one of the initial things that gets the story going is that Peter has a tax problem and he needs money, and his big break eventually is when he pulls the fish out, or when he initially puts his nets down, he's getting nothing, and then Jesus says, "Put your nets over the other side," and he gets a miraculous catch. And here, in this case, it's not John who has the tax problem, but it's like John's dad. And so John introduces them to Jesus, and Jesus tells them to put the nets over the other side of the boat. And then you can see kind of a big swarm of fish approaching. I don't know.
I would attribute that more to just there's only so many ways you can tell this story or to
That's
create
true.
backstory to it. It's like, there needs to be some sort of like, what are these people doing? They're fishermen. Well, what are some possible things that could have happened to them ahead of time to lead them to that moment? And there's only and I think this, just from what I read, that this was in development for like way before even The Chosen started.
Oh wow.
I think if I'm remembering it correctly, but I would just assume that it's like these are just things that you do for these kind of stories. You have to give the character something that he needs to overcome. Why is he doing this? Well, because he needs money, or he needs this, and it's like that's every Disney movie or every animated film. So it's unfortunate that it does line up so closely to The Chosen, though.
Yeah, I'm not kind of like seriously accusing them of copying. I agree with you. I think it's probably more likely like a convergence from like we know that the kind of one of his first moments meeting Jesus is tied to this fishing event, and so it makes sense to kind of create like some sort of character motivation for that being a significant event. And there is like a distinction because it, in the Chosen, Simon Peter is he's in like gambling debt, or not gambling debt, but he's in debt in part because of his gambling and stuff like that. Whereas here, it seems like John's father Zebedee is pretty like on the up and up, but maybe we get the sense that maybe John kind of causes some mischief, and I don't know. So I'm not like accusing them of stealing, but I just like you said, I think it's probably just a natural byproduct of the source material. John and John, it seems like they're painting John the Baptist as kind of a goofy figure, which again, like a little bit connected to The Chosen, although with The Chosen, like he's like a little more like fierce, whereas here, like he definitely felt like very kind of Disney goofy sort of vibes from him.
He's creepy John in The Chosen.
But definitely kind of playing up the more eccentric aspect of John the Baptist, which makes a lot of sense and makes sense for a child's take on it. We get like a lot of kind of scenes where it really seems like the film is playing up the idea of John being the beloved disciple. And I like this little detail. This is definitely resurrection Jesus, because he's got the hole in his arm from the nail, and you can see through it. So that's kind of a cool little bit. Any other kind of thoughts on Light of the
Just
World, just from what you saw?
curious that we're going to see a crucifixion in a Disney movie.
That's true.
You did get a couple of shots of where and you're going to see some representation of it. I mean, obviously it's not going to be as bloody, but you do see some blood on Jesus. You do see the
Yeah.
cross being raised up with Jesus on it. So, from
Yeah.
I'm just curious how much they're going to present that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But you
It'll
kind
be
of have to.
interesting
You have
see.
to, though. I don't think you can get around that.
Yeah. 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 I mean, this is not going to be Passion of the Christ level Jesus with, all kinds of wounds and stuff all over him that are like bleeding. But it will be, definitely a little more,
Sanitized.
Yeah. But I'm interested. I'm more drawn to this, I think, than I am. I still haven't seen King of Kings, so it may be a wonderful film. I know a lot of people liked it, but it just the trailers didn't really pull me in a whole lot.
I wasn't planning on seeing King of Kings, but there was a couple of reviews that I saw that kind of painted the movie as kind of like The Princess Bride, as far as kind of how they're presenting. It's a story where a kid's being told a story, and he's kind of sort of in it. He's like it's interactive for him. In this case, he's actually goes into the story, but it's kind of in that same way where he's expressing doubt at first and.
I'm losing your
involved.
audio. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I had a phone call come in. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Cool. I might get around to King of Kings. I may also just like wait because I'm guessing it'll be maybe on the Chosen app or the Angel app by the time Testament comes out. So maybe I'll just wait and pay for the app then, and we'll see.
Yep.
But I like that. There are as we've discussed, like the Chosen has kind of opened the way for a diverse kind of exploration of biblical stories through different types of genres. So it's kind of cool that we do have, sci-fi dystopian. We've got maybe horror or like action-y sort of take on the shows or on the Bible, and then the more kind of Disney approach as well. So it's a really interesting season to be in, and
what I like is that all of these things look much better than Christian media has looked in the past. I mean,
yes,
Light of the World looks like it was done by former Disney animators, like that were trying to do something. I mean, it looks really good. It looks like a legit movie.
Some of the
where animated films in the past looked like it was. Okay.
Some of the visuals for Light of the World, I wish I'd grabbed one of these images, like when the Holy Spirit's coming down. Like there's, like I feel like they're exploring some of the stuff that is actually kind of like difficult to do in a more like live action sort of take, which The Chosen has kind of struggled with. I feel like there's stuff you can do, especially in 2D animation, that is like an interesting way to explore it. But I agree with you. It's good that visually, this looks like a legit Disney animation. The Zero AD looks like it could be like a horror film from A24 or something, and
Well, back in 1998 when Prince of Egypt came out, that was a legit Bible-based movie with given the full treatment. So and that's still a movie I enjoy.
So definitely exciting season to be in. We'll come back to talking more Chosen season 5. I wanted to catch up on some of this stuff and also Kyle wasn't able to join us. So I'd like to maybe discuss it with him. And I've got another potential guest that I don't know if he'll join for the live stream or if we'll just do interview. But he's a pastor who was kind of the one responsible for back last summer when I got my Gospel Coalition article. He was the one who kind of helped me get connected there, and he's got some interesting thoughts on both like the Chosen itself, but also kind of like the pastoral aspect of like walking with people pastorally, and how do you kind of teach people to engage with this material and kind of use discernment and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll still be doing Chosen stuff. Maybe even circle back to House of David as well, because there's just a lot of stuff to unpack from the past couple seasons. So
Very cool.
Yeah, thanks Victor for joining me, and thank you all for being here tonight. So till next time, Godspeed.